Think you're doing push-ups the right way? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually thought about your form, not just how many reps you could crank out? Because here's the truth, most people are wrecking their shoulders, straining their lower back, and wasting their effort every single time they drop down for a set. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening, because bad push-ups still feel like work. But feeling the burn doesn't mean you're doing it right. Now here's the kicker. Push-ups are one of the most effective exercises you can do, period. They build strength across your chest, shoulders, triceps, and core. They need no equipment, and they're scalable whether you're a beginner or advanced. But if your form is off, you're not only cutting your results in half, you're teaching your body bad habits that make progress harder down the road. Let's test this quickly. Next time you do a push-up, pay attention. Do your elbows flare out wide, almost like a chicken? Do your hips sag toward the ground, or maybe shoot upward like a mountain peak? Do you feel most of the strain in your lower back, or maybe in your neck, instead of evenly through your chest and arms? If any of that sounds familiar, don't worry. You're in the same boat as 80% of people I see in the gym. But here's the good news. Once you know the simple fixes, your push-ups are going to feel completely different. And here's a little teaser. You don't even need to get stronger to make your push-ups better. In fact, the very first improvement starts with your setup, before you even bend your arms. Think about that. If you've been grinding out sloppy push-ups, you've basically been building a house on sand. It might look like a house, but it doesn't have a solid foundation. What happens when you fix the foundation? Suddenly, every rep feels more stable, smoother, and more powerful. But let's not jump ahead. Before we dive into the right way, I want you to really understand the wrong way. Because once you can spot mistakes, you'll never unsee them. And when you see them in yourself, you'll instantly know how to correct them. So, mistake number 1, elbow flare. When you drop into a push-up and your elbows shoot out at 90 degrees, you're basically putting all the pressure on your shoulder joints instead of letting your chest do the work. It feels harder, sure, but not in the way that builds strength. It's like trying to push a heavy door open with your hand at the very edge instead of near the hinge. All leverage, no stability. Mistake number 2, the sagging hips. This one's sneaky, because it happens when your core isn't engaged. Think about it, you're holding a plank, but as soon as your abs give up, gravity takes over. Your hips drop, your lower back arches, and suddenly the push-up turns into a dangerous stretch for your spine. Not good. Mistake number 3, the mountain peak. This is when your hips shoot upward, so you're basically doing a hybrid between a push-up and downward dog. It usually happens when people are trying to avoid the hard part, the chest and triceps engagement, by shifting weight onto their shoulders. Again, you might feel like you're working, but you're not building the strength where you actually want it. Now here's the fun part. All of these mistakes have one common cause. And once you fix that cause, everything else falls into place. I'll give you a hint. It's not your arms, it's not your chest, it's not even your shoulders. It's something much deeper, something most people completely overlook. And that's where we're headed next. Alright, so earlier I told you the biggest mistakes: flared elbows, sagging hips, mountain peak push-ups. And I hinted that the real solution isn't about your arms or shoulders. Ready for it? The secret lies in your core. Now, when most people hear core, they think six-pack abs. But your core is way more than that. It's your entire midsection, front, sides, and back, working together to stabilize your spine. Think of your body like a suspension bridge. The core is the tension cable holding everything steady. Without that tension, the bridge wobbles, dips, and eventually collapses. That's exactly what happens to your push-up when your core isn't switched on. So, before you even lower yourself for a single rep, your first job is this: lock in your plank. That's right, a push-up is basically a moving plank. Get that position nailed, and everything else starts to click. Here's how you set it up step by step. Step 1. Hands. Place them flat on the floor, just a bit wider than shoulder width. Not too far out, not too narrow. Think of stacking. Your wrists should be stacked under your shoulders, forming a solid column. Spread your fingers. Grip the ground slightly like you're trying to twist the floor apart. That tiny twist activates your lats, those big muscles along your back, which instantly makes your shoulders more stable. Step 2, feet. Put them together or shoulder width if that feels more natural. The closer your feet, the harder it is to balance, but the more your core has to work. Whichever you choose, stay consistent. Step 3, the plank. Now here's where most people fall apart. Squeeze your glutes. Yes, your glutes. Imagine you're holding a credit card between your cheeks and you're not allowed to drop it. Then tighten your abs like someone's about to punch you in the stomach. Feel that? That's your core bracing. When you lock those two areas in, glutes and abs, you've just created a straight, solid line from your head to your heels. Now check your head. Too many people let it hang forward or crank it up like they're staring at the ceiling. Both are bad news for your neck. Instead, keep your gaze slightly ahead of your hands, neck neutral, as if you're holding an apple under your chin. At this point, you haven't even bent your arms, and yet your body is already working harder than before. That's the foundation. Without it, the rest of the push-up collapses. Now let's tease the next part, lowering and pressing back up. This is where you see all kinds of creative but wrong variations. People dive bombing their chest to the floor, elbows flying out, or half-repping by going only halfway down. But once you've got the setup we just built, the actual movement becomes simple. It's just maintaining that strong plank while your arms guide you down and up. Think about this. If the plank is the skyscraper foundation, the lowering phase is like adding floors. You wouldn't stack new levels on a shaky base, right? Same idea here. Build strong from the ground up, and every rep is a rock-solid investment. Now, here's a quick challenge for you. Before I even explain the lowering part, drop into the setup we just covered. Hands right, glutes squeezed, abs braced, neck neutral. Hold it. Feel how much tension is running through your body? That's not wasted energy. That's your muscles doing exactly what they're supposed to do. When you start every push-up like this, the mistakes we talked about earlier, flared elbows, sagging hips, mountain peaks, don't even have room to show up. You've essentially shut the door on them. And in the next section, I'm going to show you the proper lowering and pressing technique. How to move from start to finish, so your push-up doesn't just look clean, but actually builds maximum strength where you want it. So, you've locked in your plank. Hands planted, glutes squeezed, abs braced, neck neutral. Now it's time for the part everyone thinks they know, actually moving. And here's where the difference between sloppy push-ups and powerful, clean reps becomes crystal clear. Let's start with the lowering phase. Most people just collapse. Their chest dives, their elbows flare, their hips sag, and it looks more like they're falling than lowering under control. If that's been you, don't worry, you're not alone. But here's the truth. The lowering phase is just as important, maybe even more important, than the pressing part. Why? Because lowering under control is what teaches your muscles to stabilize and absorb force. It's like learning to land a jump before you learn to jump higher. You need that safe, controlled landing first. Here's the right way. Imagine you're being lowered on strings, like a puppet, perfectly straight from head to heels. As you bend your arms, your elbows should angle back at about 45 degrees, not straight out like a T, and not tucked completely against your ribs. 45 degrees is the sweet spot where your chest, shoulders, and triceps share the load evenly, without torching your joints. Think of it as the joint-friendly lane. Now, as you go down, keep your body rigid. No sagging, no arching, no tipping. Your chest should move as one piece, lowering toward the ground, not your head, not your hips. And here's a key detail that most people miss. Stop when your chest is just an inch or two above the floor, not when your stomach or thighs smack down first. You want that chest-to-floor proximity, because that's what fully engages your chest muscles through their full range of motion. Alright, now the pressing phase. This is where people get lazy. They'll bounce off the bottom, rush to the top, or push unevenly. But a perfect press is all about power and control. From that low point, drive through your palms as if you're trying to push the floor away from you. Keep that core tight. Remember, you're still in a plank. No worming your way up. No letting your hips lag behind your shoulders. Everything rises together in one straight line. Here's a mental cue that works wonders. Imagine your body is a single steel rod, and your arms are just the pistons moving it up and down. The rod doesn't bend or sag. It stays perfectly straight. That's the feeling you're aiming for. Now, let's talk about breathing, something almost nobody pays attention to. If you hold your breath, you're basically suffocating your power. Instead, inhale as you lower.